Ten loi quyen kin dying qua nuok mai, en hung nguyen tak de gop fan hin ton nin tin than ka nan, kin don va exe hoi hoa kai. Chung fan on en hung jia tri duok nuoi mai trian lai quan yu the he. 1. Work hard and you'll succeed, the backbone of the American dream. In the heart of American values lies a simple yet powerful belief. If you work hard, you will succeed. This principle has shaped generations of Americans and inspired countless immigrants from around the world to seek opportunity on American soil. It is the cornerstone of what many call the American dream. The idea that with enough effort, dedication, and perseverance, anyone can rise above their circumstances and build a better life. From the early days of the country, hard work has been seen not just as a means to an end, but as a virtue in itself. Farmers who rose before dawn, factory workers who toiled for hours, entrepreneurs who took risks and worked late into the night, all shared one thing in common: a belief in the dignity and reward of labor. This ethic has been immortalized in countless stories, from Abraham Lincoln teaching himself by candlelight to modern tech founders working out of garages to build billion-dollar companies. In America, success is rarely handed out. It is earned. And while privilege and opportunity certainly play a role, the cultural narrative consistently rewards effort over entitlement. A janitor can become a business owner. A refugee can become a doctor. A child from a poor neighborhood can become a leader, if they are willing to outwork the obstacles in front of them. This belief in hard work also fosters optimism and resilience. Even when facing failure, Americans often say, "You just need to keep pushing." Setbacks are not the end, they are part of the journey. People who work hard are admired not just for their achievements, but for their character, their discipline, determination, and refusal to give up. However, it's important to understand that this principle doesn't mean that success comes instantly or easily. In fact, work hard often means working smart, being consistent, learning from failure, and sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term gain. It may take years, even decades, for effort to fully pay off. But in the American mindset, no honest work is wasted, because every step taken builds experience, skills, and inner strength. Moreover, this value extends beyond individual gain. Communities, businesses, and even nations are built on the efforts of people who believe in doing their part. In the workplace, those who go above and beyond are recognized. In school, students who study diligently are encouraged. In life, those who strive are respected. Work hard and you'll succeed may sound simple, but it carries the weight of a nation's history and identity. It is a reminder that greatness does not come from luck or birthright, but from commitment and persistence. For anyone chasing a goal, big or small, it offers hope that no matter where you start, the finish line is within reach if you're willing to earn it. 2. Time is money, the American urgency to make every second count. In America, there's a phrase that captures the spirit of productivity and purpose: time is money. It's not just a clever saying. It's a mindset, a way of thinking that treats time as one of the most valuable resources a person can have. Once a second passes, you can never get it back. And in the American way of life, every moment counts. This idea traces its roots back to Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers, who famously wrote, "Lost time is never found again." Franklin believed that wasting time was the same as throwing away opportunity. If you have an hour and you spend it doing nothing useful, that's an hour of potential income, progress, or creativity gone forever. In American culture, people are taught early on to be efficient with their time. Meetings are expected to start on time. Deadlines are taken seriously. And being busy is often seen as a sign of importance or success. This isn't about rushing for the sake of speed, it's about using time wisely with intention. In business, the principle of time is money is especially strong. Every minute spent in delay could mean missed sales, wasted labor, or lost momentum. That's why companies invest in productivity tools, streamline systems, and constantly look for ways to move faster and smarter. Entrepreneurs and employees alike are expected to manage their time well, because inefficiency directly impacts profit. But the lesson applies far beyond offices and boardrooms. For the average American, time management is a life skill. Whether it's a student juggling school and part-time work, a parent raising children while holding a full-time job, or someone learning a new trade in their spare hours, they all understand that time once spent can't be refunded. That's why schedules, calendars, alarms, and to-do lists are everyday tools in American life. Of course, time is money doesn't mean people should work non-stop. It means knowing the value of each minute and spending it with purpose. Sometimes, the best use of time is not to work more but to rest, recharge, or invest in relationships. The key is intention. making sure time is being used in a way that aligns with your goals and values. This mindset has led to incredible innovation. From Silicon Valley startups to Wall Street firms, Americans are constantly seeking faster, better, and more efficient ways to get things done. It's part of what drives the country's economic power and global influence. But the deeper message behind time is money is this: your time is precious. Don't waste it. Whether you're chasing a dream, building a career, or raising a family, every minute you invest with focus and effort brings you one step closer to success. In the end, time is the one currency we all share, and how we spend it shapes who we become. 3. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. The American rule of smart risk. In the world of American wisdom, one of the most practical and commonly used pieces of advice is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. At first glance, it may sound like a simple farming metaphor, and it is. If you put all your eggs into one basket and drop it, you lose everything. But this simple saying holds deep meaning in how Americans approach risk, security, and decision-making in life and business. At its core, the phrase is about diversification. Whether in investing, career planning, or everyday choices, Americans understand the importance of spreading out risk. Why bet everything on one outcome, one person, or one opportunity, when things in life are unpredictable? Take investing, for example. A smart investor doesn't put all their money into one stock or company. Instead, they build a portfolio of different assets, some risky, some safe, across different industries. That way, if one investment fails, the others can help balance the loss. This strategy is the foundation of financial planning in the U.S. The same logic applies to career development. Americans often encourage young people to develop multiple skills, not just specialize in one area. Having different abilities means you can adapt to changing job markets or unexpected life events. If one door closes, you'll have the tools to open another. Even in daily life, this mindset plays out. People may have more than one source of income, a main job, a side business, freelance work, or rental property. They save in multiple accounts, have backup plans for emergencies, and look for options rather than relying on just one solution. Why is this principle so important in American culture? Because America, while full of opportunity, is also full of uncertainty. Jobs can be lost. Markets can crash. Plans can fail. People who put all their trust, money, or effort into one thing without a backup often face major losses. On the other hand, those who plan ahead, diversify, and prepare for surprises usually bounce back stronger. But this wisdom isn't about being afraid. It's about being smart. It doesn't say don't take risks, it says take them wisely. By spreading your eggs across several baskets, you give yourself room to grow, room to fall, and most importantly, room to recover. In business, in finance, and in life, balance is everything. And don't put all your eggs in one basket reminds us to think long-term, protect what we have, and never be fully dependent on one thing. Because in a fast-changing world, flexibility is strength. So whether you're saving for the future, choosing a career, or making a big life decision, remember this: protect yourself by planning smart. Keep more than one basket. Because success isn't just about what you gain, it's also about what you don't lose. 4. Speak your mind, the American way of honest expression. In American culture, one value stands tall in conversations, classrooms, courtrooms, and boardrooms: speak your mind. This principle is deeply rooted in the belief that every person has a voice, and that voice matters. Whether you're expressing an opinion, sharing an idea, or standing up for what's right, speaking your mind is seen not only as a right but as a responsibility. The roots of this value go back to the founding of the United States, where freedom of speech was written into the First Amendment of the Constitution. The Founding Fathers believed that for a democracy to work, its people must be able to speak openly, without fear of punishment. That belief helped shape a nation where open discussion, debate, and disagreement are not only tolerated but encouraged. To speak your mind means to be honest, direct, and unafraid to share your perspective. In many American homes, children are taught to express their thoughts respectfully. In schools, students are invited to question ideas and voice opinions. In workplaces, employees who contribute ideas, even challenging ones, are often valued as creative and engaged team members. This doesn't mean being rude or reckless with words. It means having the courage to be authentic, especially when it matters. Americans respect those who stand up for what they believe, even if they don't always agree with them. Being silent in the face of injustice or dishonesty is often seen as worse than speaking up and facing opposition. Take civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., or social reformers like Susan B. Anthony. They spoke their minds boldly and changed the course of history. Even today, American society encourages public figures, journalists, artists, and everyday citizens to use their voices to bring attention to truth, justice, and progress. In business, speaking your mind can lead to innovation. Companies thrive when employees feel free to challenge the status quo or share new ideas. In personal relationships, open communication helps build trust and understanding. And in politics, speaking out is a vital part of making change. Of course, speaking your mind also comes with responsibility. Words have power. In American society, people are expected to balance honesty with respect, to speak with both conviction and compassion. The goal isn't to dominate others, it's to contribute to dialogue, to find truth, and to push society forward. In a world where silence can be mistaken for agreement, speak your mind is a call to be present, to be bold, and to be part of the conversation. It reminds us that progress often begins with one voice willing to say what others are thinking but afraid to express. So whether you're in a meeting, a classroom, a protest, or a conversation with a friend, don't hide your thoughts. Be thoughtful. Be kind. But above all, be honest. Because when you speak your mind, you make space for truth, growth, and meaningful change. 5. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the spirit of self-reliance in America. Few phrases capture the American spirit more than, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's a vivid way of saying, don't wait for others to save you. Don't depend on luck. Stand up, take control, and lift yourself through effort and willpower. This phrase has become a cornerstone of the American mindset, representing the belief that anyone, no matter their background, can rise through personal responsibility and hard work. Originally, the saying was almost impossible. You can't literally lift yourself by your own bootstraps. But over time, it came to symbolize something powerful: self-made success. In American culture, people admire those who overcome adversity, start from nothing, and build something meaningful with their own hands and determination. This principle is reflected in countless real-life stories. The immigrant who arrives with no English and becomes a business owner. The young woman from a poor neighborhood who studies hard, works 2 jobs, and becomes a lawyer. The man who was once homeless but never gave up, and now helps others find their way. These are not just exceptions. They are deeply admired and often held up as models of what is possible in America. The idea behind this phrase is not that success is easy. On the contrary, it acknowledges that life can be unfair and filled with obstacles. But instead of waiting for perfect conditions or blaming circumstances, Americans are taught to ask, what can I do about it? It's a call to action, a challenge to rise above excuses and to take charge of one's destiny. In schools, students are encouraged to set goals and work hard for them. In business, entrepreneurs are celebrated for their risk-taking and grit. In daily life, people who face hardship with resilience are respected, not for avoiding struggle but for pushing through it. However, this phrase doesn't mean people have to succeed all on their own. Even the most independent person needs help along the way: mentors, teachers, community, opportunity. But the starting point is internal: belief in oneself. It's about having the mindset that says, I won't let my past define my future. I will build the life I want, one step at a time. Critics of the phrase sometimes argue that it ignores structural barriers like poverty, discrimination, or lack of access to education. And they have a point. These issues are real and must be addressed. But the enduring power of pull yourself up by your bootstraps lies in its message of personal empowerment. It doesn't deny the difficulty, it dares you to rise anyway. In the end, this phrase is more than a motto, it's a way of life. It reminds us that while the road may be steep and lonely, the strength to climb begins within. And for those who keep moving forward, step by step, bootstraps in hand, the summit is always within reach. 6. The customer is always right, the foundation of American service culture. In American business, there's a golden rule that many companies live by: the customer is always right. This simple phrase has shaped the way American businesses operate for generations. It reflects a deep commitment to customer satisfaction, trust, and long-term relationships, values that define success in the American marketplace. At its core, this idea means that businesses should listen to their customers, respect their concerns, and prioritize their experience. It's not about saying the customer is perfect, but about putting their needs and opinions at the center of every decision. In a competitive economy like the United States, customers have choices, and companies know that earning loyalty starts with making people feel heard and valued. This philosophy began to take hold in the early 20th century, when major American retailers like Marshall Field and John Wanamaker built their reputations by treating customers with kindness and respect. They believed that happy customers would come back and bring their friends. That idea quickly spread, especially in the service and hospitality industries. Today, whether you walk into a small coffee shop or a large department store, you're likely to be greeted with a smile, a friendly, "How can I help you?" and a willingness to fix problems quickly. Many American companies offer return policies, satisfaction guarantees, and round-the-clock support, all based on the belief that a happy customer is the best form of marketing. But "the customer is always right" is more than just a slogan. It's a strategy. Businesses that listen carefully to customer feedback can improve their products, services, and brand image. In the age of online reviews and social media, one bad experience can hurt a company's reputation, while one positive story can go viral and attract thousands of new customers. This mindset also creates a service culture where employees are trained to empathize, solve problems, and stay calm under pressure. Great American customer service isn't just about politeness. It's about taking ownership of a customer's problem and making it right, even if it costs time or money in the short term. Because in the long run, trust builds loyalty and loyalty builds success. Of course, not every customer is truly right in every situation. Some may be unreasonable or even dishonest. But the point of this principle isn't to blindly agree, it's to approach every customer with respect and a willingness to understand. It teaches businesses to focus on solutions, not arguments. In a world where products can be copied and prices can be matched, service is what makes a company stand out. When customers feel respected and taken care of, they remember it, and they come back. So whether you're running a local bakery or managing a global brand, the message is clear. Treat every customer like they matter because they do. After all, in American business, the path to success often begins with 5 simple words. The customer is always right. 7. Live and let live, the American way of respecting differences. One of the most meaningful and widely accepted values in American society is the principle, live and let live. At its heart, this phrase encourages tolerance, mutual respect, and personal freedom. It means allowing others to live their lives in their own way as long as they are not hurting anyone, and expecting the same in return. In a country as diverse as the United States, this value is essential. America is home to people of many races, religions, political views, lifestyles, and cultural backgrounds. There is no single way to be American. From big cities to rural towns, people live very different kinds of lives. And yet, this diversity is one of the country's greatest strengths, because it encourages creativity, innovation, and a rich mix of ideas. The phrase, live and let live, reflects the belief that freedom means more than doing what you want, it also means letting others do the same. It is a call to mind your own business, avoid unnecessary judgment, and focus on living your life well without trying to control how others live theirs. This mindset is especially visible in American attitudes toward personal choices. For example, people may dress differently, follow different religions, or raise their children in different ways, and in most communities, those differences are accepted. You might not agree with someone's lifestyle or opinions, but you're still expected to respect their right to live freely. In practice, live and let live shows up in many areas of American life. In politics, it's the foundation of civil liberties and individual rights. In neighborhoods, it means getting along with people who are different from you. In workplaces, it supports inclusion and respect for varied perspectives. And in daily life, it means not trying to force others to live according to your beliefs. That doesn't mean Americans don't argue. They do, often and loudly. Debates over values, laws, and traditions are common. But even in disagreement, there's a deep respect for the right to disagree. The phrase, "I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend your right to say it," captures the spirit behind live and let live. However, this principle is not a license to ignore wrongdoing or stay silent in the face of injustice. It has limits, especially when someone's actions cause harm to others. Tolerance must always be balanced with responsibility. But as long as people are acting within the law and not hurting others, they are generally free to live as they choose. In the end, live and let live reminds us that peace doesn't always come from agreement, it comes from mutual respect. It teaches us that we don't have to be the same to get along. We just need to accept that everyone is on their own path, and that the world is better when we give each other the space to be who we are. 8. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, the value of practical thinking. Among the many common sayings in American culture, few are as straightforward and practical as, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it." While it may sound casual or even a bit humorous, this phrase carries real wisdom. It suggests that when something is working well, there's no need to change it just for the sake of change. In a world that often rushes toward the newest and flashiest trends, This principle reminds us to value what already works. This saying is especially common in business, engineering, and everyday problem solving. If a system, product, or process is functioning properly, trying to improve it without a good reason can sometimes lead to unnecessary complications or even failure. In other words, fixing something that isn't broken may waste time, money, and effort, and in the worst case make things worse. Take, for example, a small business that uses a simple system to track its customers and inventory. It might not be the latest technology, but it's reliable, easy to use, and gets the job done. If the owner suddenly replaces it with a complex software program just because it's new or trendy, they might end up creating confusion, frustration, or even data loss. In this case, the new solution is not necessarily better, it's just different. This principle also applies in daily life. Sometimes people feel pressure to constantly upgrade their phones, cars, even their routines, because society tells them new means better. But Americans who live by this saying often believe in function over fashion. If your car still runs well, why buy a new one? If your habits are keeping you healthy and productive, why change them? That doesn't mean Americans are against innovation or improvement. On the contrary, the country is known for its inventiveness and progress. But the wisdom of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, lies in its balance. It says, make changes when there's a clear benefit, not just because you're bored or trying to keep up with others. This mindset also teaches patience and resourcefulness. Instead of rushing to replace or change something, take the time to understand why it works, how it serves its purpose, and whether change is truly necessary. It promotes efficiency, the idea of doing more with less, and valuing stability over constant disruption. In leadership and management, this phrase encourages thoughtful decision-making. Good leaders know when to innovate and when to stick with what already works. They avoid fixing what isn't broken so they can focus on problems that really do need attention. In the end, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is not about resisting change. It's about making smart, intentional change. It's a reminder to appreciate what functions well, to avoid unnecessary risks, and to trust the value of experience and consistency in a world that too often chases novelty. 9. Freedom isn't free, the price of liberty in American life. One of the most solemn and powerful expressions in American culture is the phrase, freedom isn't free. These three words carry a deep and sobering message, that liberty, the ability to live, speak, worship, and dream freely, comes at a cost. It is not automatic. It is not guaranteed. It must be earned, protected, and sometimes even fought for. In the United States, freedom is one of the founding ideals. From the very beginning, Americans have valued the right to think and act independently, to pursue happiness without unjust interference. But history has shown time and again that such rights are not simply handed out. They have been won through struggle, sacrifice, and a commitment to principles greater than self-interest. This saying is often used to honor those who serve in the military, the men and women who risk their lives to defend the country. For them, freedom isn't free, is not just a slogan. It's a reality. Every flag waved on Independence Day, every peaceful protest, every vote cast, these are only possible because someone paid the price, often with their time, their health, or even their life. But the message goes beyond war or national defense. It applies to citizenship itself. In a democracy like the United States, freedom requires active participation. That means voting, staying informed, respecting others' rights, and holding leaders accountable. Freedom is not something that others maintain for you, it's something you help protect through both action and responsibility. This phrase also reminds Americans not to take their freedoms for granted. Too often, people become comfortable and forget how rare and valuable liberty truly is. Around the world, many still live without freedom of speech, religion, or political choice. Freedom isn't free serves as a wake-up call, a reminder that rights can be lost if they are not cherished and defended. In daily life, the principle also teaches personal responsibility. If you want the freedom to live on your own terms, you must also accept the consequences of your actions. Freedom comes with duty, to yourself, your community, and your country. The phrase also applies to the fight for civil rights and social justice. Every gain, from the abolition of slavery to the right to vote, from equal education to fair treatment under the law, came from people who stood up, spoke out, and often suffered. Their courage expanded freedom for others, proving once again that liberty must be earned, not assumed. In the end, freedom isn't free, is more than a patriotic saying. It is a deep truth that reminds us all, liberty is precious and it demands effort, courage, and care. To truly honor the gift of freedom, we must protect it, use it wisely, and never forget those who made it possible. 10. Shoot for the stars, the American spirit of big dreams. In the land of opportunity, one phrase perfectly captures the boldness of the American dream: shoot for the stars. It's a call to aim high, dream big, and pursue goals that might seem impossible. In American culture, ambition is not only accepted, it's encouraged. From classrooms to boardrooms, from sports fields to startup garages, the message is clear. Don't settle for ordinary when you can reach for the extraordinary. To shoot for the stars means striving for greatness, even if the journey is uncertain or difficult. It's about having the courage to set big goals and the determination to chase them, no matter how far away they seem. This mindset has inspired countless Americans to break boundaries, defy odds, and leave a mark on the world. Think of the moon landing in 1969, a literal example of this phrase in action. When President John F. Kennedy announced America's goal to land a man on the moon, it sounded impossible. But with hard work, innovation, and national resolve, that dream became reality. It was proof that with vision and effort, the stars are not out of reach. This ambitious spirit can be found in every corner of American life. Entrepreneurs start businesses with little more than an idea and a laptop. Immigrants arrive with hopes for a better future and build lives beyond anything they imagined. Artists, scientists, athletes, and everyday people push themselves to new limits, not because it's easy but because they believe it's worth it. In American schools, children are often told, "You can be anything you want to be." While life is never that simple, the message is meant to empower, to tell young people that their dreams matter, and that hard work can take them far. It creates a mindset of possibility over limitation, encouraging individuals to imagine more for themselves and their communities. But shooting for the stars is not just about dreaming, it's about doing. Ambition must be matched with action, planning, learning, failing, and trying again. The road to big dreams is often filled with rejection and disappointment, but those who succeed are usually the ones who refuse to give up. In American culture, perseverance is just as important as vision. This principle also encourages innovation. In technology, medicine, space exploration, and the arts, American thinkers are constantly asking, "What's next?" Or, "What if?" That hunger for progress and improvement is part of what drives the country forward. Of course, not everyone reaches the stars, and that's okay. Even if you fall short, you still rise higher than you would have by aiming low. The journey itself builds character, resilience, and wisdom. In the end, "Shoot for the stars" is more than a motivational quote, it's a way of life. It reminds us that no dream is too big, no goal too distant. With courage, effort, and belief, we can achieve more than we ever imagined. And even if we don't touch the stars, we just might land among them.